What?
Pay attention, it says right here on your page. Pay attention. 76. You typed it.
Yes, I see it now. Okay. All right, we're going to do section 10. This is allergies and toxins, self-treat. And then some random things I wrote about relationships 2 years ago that might have changed. So we'll see. That was a scary laugh. Okay. Yeah. So just like with the tapping, you can treat anything physical, mental, emotional. One of the things you can treat are allergies and toxins. So if you know that you're allergic to something, you can, we'll get into that, but basically you're holding the substance just like you're holding the mental emotional issue in your mind and then tapping on it. So, allergies. Common symptoms of hidden allergy. This is if you don't know what if you have an allergy to something, but if you know you have an allergy to it, you can tap on it. But this sheet here is just to kind of help you find if you do have an allergy. The following chronic ailments are some of the more common reactions to cytotoxic exposure. The list is compiled from detailed medical records covering thousands of patients since 1930. These reactions are often removed by avoiding the offending item and can be returned by re-exposure to yourself. In other words, if you're allergic, you just stay away from it. It doesn't have any bad effect. And then usually when you start taking it again, you have the effect. With the tapping, you're neutralizing that issue, so even if you do come across it, it won't have an effect. There are some other causes for the following symptoms, however. Cytotoxic reaction and related hidden food and chemical allergies are the most common and should be the first area tested. So the list we're about to go over, it could be something other than allergy, but it's possible that it is an allergy. It is possible to have some food allergies and not have recognizable symptoms. Those are like intolerances, which are really hard to treat, because just say you eat something on Monday and then Wednesday it hits you and you're like, you don't know what, you think it was something that day, but it could be something else. If you have had or are having one or more of the following symptoms, it may get worse during the first week as you go through withdrawal. So sometimes if you take the substance out of your life, then the issues can be worse in the beginning. And I got this sheet. I can't remember exactly where I got this sheet, so I borrowed this sheet from somewhere. I'm just putting this in as far as how to find hidden allergies. Some symptoms leave slowly, some fluctuate, and some leave rapidly. Examples of chronic physical symptoms that could be because of an allergy or headaches. That could be sinus headache, migraine headache, dizziness, fainting, feeling of fullness in the head, like sinus expansion. Ears, eyes, nose, and throat. Those usually one of the first signs if you're allergic to something, if you've ever eaten something and within a short amount of time you start itching in the roof of your mouth, that's a sure sign that's an allergy. So if you eat something and you get itchy in your throat, that's a sure sign that you're particularly allergic to that issue. Eye issues, swollen, dark circles, watery eyes, red bloodshot eyes, dilated pupils, blurred vision. I'm not going to read all these, you're not going to memorize them.
I can tell when I'm done MSG, I get lichen planus. It says lines inside your cheek that are sensitive.
Huh.
It's in the inside of your mouth.
I can tell when I eat MSG, my jaw will be super tight. It's like the muscle is really tight and uncomfortable. Oh, there's Marcia.
Hello.
Bam, bam.
You started already. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. We're just covering allergies and treating allergies and toxins with EFT, and it's fairly simple. If you have an allergy that you know of, you can just hold the item and tap on it. If you don't know, I'm just going through a list of symptoms. Anything with eyes, runny nose, anything like that could be an allergy.
Right now, my allergies are horrible.
Really?
Yes.
Do you know to what?
Something outside.
Okay. We're going to go over some, and we'll go over
I
some.
think I have food allergies too, but I don't know what to yet.
Mine are active cold.
Well, the heat and all that really adds to it. We haven't had any rain for really good rain. Heart and lungs, you can get palpitation, decreased heart rate, or actually speeding up heart rate. Asthma is usually a typical sure sign of some kind of allergic issue, congestion in the chest, hoarseness, yawning. Blood, damaged and killed white blood cells, which you would not know of unless you had some kind of test. So blood is a hard one to really go by as far as a sure example of finding an allergy. Glands, low thyroid levels, low testosterone, depressed pancreas activity, depression or excessive sexual drive, decreased adrenal function, menstrual irregularity and pain. The mouth, you can get bleedy gums, sore tongue, tongue coated, bad breath, cracked lips, loose teeth. What was I thinking a second?
Loose teeth, huh?
Well, chronic sinusitis is one of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
I had that when I was, I over looking at it, I've cut out milk out of my diet, pretty much out of my diet. I don't drink milk anymore. I mean, I still have dairy now and then, cheese on things, but I don't have milk. And in my early 20s, I was drinking milk pretty regularly. Now it's becoming chronic sinusitis.
I've had a very similar issue with milk, and if I don't touch milk or dairy, I don't ever have a sinus issue, never. And if I do it, I do, because one of your most common allergies. I think I put that list in here.
And sour milk products wouldn't necessarily.
My experience with that is that they still contain dairy, and in some cases, you have like an issue with lactose, the sugar in there, and some of the fermentation actually increases sugar.
Really?
Like with kombucha tea. Those kombucha teas, everybody talks about how healthy they are, but the way they make them in the popular, when you sell them, you see them at the store and you buy them, they have them at Sunshine and lots of places like that, is they stop the fermentation early, which means there's a lot of sugar in there. Because if it's fermented completely all the way, I've actually had one and gotten buzzed off of it. It has that much sugar, alcohol in it. But to really make it healthy, you ferment all that sugar out, because that's what's being changed into the healing component. Is the mushroom is eating up the sugar and converting it. But if you let it do a process for maybe a couple of days, it's got a bunch of sugar in there, and you're getting like half the benefit. And speaking of Melinda, I think Melinda's back in town. Here she is diabetic, and I noticed she was doing those drinks a lot, and I was like, those drinks may not be that good for you. Because of the sugar content. So just because it says it's healthy, doesn't mean it's really produced that way. Yeah. Gastrointestinal issues, they're one of the big things, especially food related. If you eat something and you don't feel really good in your stomach, there's a really good sign. Bloating is one of the best signals, because when you eat something, the bloating, when you start bloating when you're eating, basically that's the fermentation. You're talking about the sour milk products and grains and things like that. Sauerkraut, you just ferment them. Well, if you don't digest it in your gut, it's going to ferment in your intestines, and you get gas. And the gas just expands your gut, and you go, ugh. So if you eat something and it's like, ugh, that's a good sign there. For me, if I eat something and I'm really, really thirsty, not like I need a couple of drinks, it's like for an hour after that I feel like I got to chug water. To me, that's a real strong sign too. Skin, rashes, acne can also be an issue, pimples, swelling. Other symptoms, chronic fatigue, chronic muscle fatigue. When I was first starting massage, my hands and my wrist hurt so bad I thought I was going to have to quit. And that was like over 10 years ago. And I came across that book, Eat Right for Your Blood Type, and I'm an A, and it said wheat would inflame your joints. So I stopped eating wheat and never have the pain. Every once in a while I'll have it. But if I have it like boom, 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 and a couple of days in a row, I can start having that issue. But you can clear that with the tapping beforehand. And sometimes what I do, I'm giving you this information, but typically, if I don't deem it really good for me, I just try to stay away from it. Unless it's something I really, really want, then you want to treat it. And then there's also examples of chronic mental symptoms. Anxiety is a huge one. Remember, your gut produces 90% of your serotonin. So if your gut's inflamed, you're not going to get the right serotonin. You're going to be anxious. You know, and literally ADD, ADHD can all be cured with diet, proper diet. And there's even rumor out there autism can too. Because it has a lot to do with the mind connection. So that information I told you I didn't know where it was from. It's from Dr. Klinghartz and Williams, 1994, 1995. Allergy toxins detection. Further ways to track down substances you have issues with are pay attention, keep a diary. Not everybody likes to keep a diary, but if you keep a track of what you eat, if you're really looking for something, you're going to do that if it's a big issue for you. You're writing down what you eat, when you eat, and your symptoms. Watch your mood. I've had this before. Allergy reactions aren't just physical, they can be mental, emotional. Like you can eat something and you get irritable. I know people have like allergy to alcohol. And there's a brain allergy. It's not just a body, it's a brain allergy. And brain allergies just change somebody from being one way to another. It's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And alcohol will do that to some people, especially if you think about what alcohol is made out of. It's made out of grains, which most people have issues with. Grains are hard to digest. So if you're allergic to barley, that particular is going to get you. If you're allergic to wheat and all these other, then those things can hit you and go straight to your brain, and you wind up being a different person. That's why you see the angry alcoholic. It's more than likely an allergy to the substance, not just them getting angry. Food addiction. If you are addicted to a food, you're probably allergic to that. And I've had that experience, Stephen, with the milk thing. Mm-hmm. It's like I had to have it every day. Chocolate milk. Mm-hmm. Oh, I did. Move. Anyway, I didn't mean to. It just came out. So.
I've got this thing about corn. Anything corn. I don't eat it anymore.
Well, see, corn is another one of the main things that they say. They say corn, wheat, dairy. There's about two other, but those are the huge ones that. And corn is so highly GMO. Huh? Soy and peanuts. Yeah, those are two good ones. Peanuts are huge. Mm-hmm. That's so bad that they put that on most labels above it.
Eggs.
Huh?
Eggs too. Some people.
Yeah, and the thing about that is they usually, when they do a vaccine, they sometimes use eggs to grow the culture. So if you're allergic to that and you get a vaccine, maybe autism to some degree is having a huge, strong allergic reaction to a vaccine that was grown in something that you're allergic to, being injected into your bloodstream.
That's what I'm getting, and it's killing me.
What's that?
The allergy shots.
Oh, you are?
Oh, I'm on my 5th month,
Mm.
and I'm like, and I cannot take that.
When I was a kid, I had the whole scratch test that they did, and I was allergic to everything. And I even had asthma. And probably one of the best things my mom did was she didn't let me stay on that inhaler. And then when I was in the military, I went to Yuma, Arizona, where it's really dry, and never had a problem since then. So I think me never getting addicted to that, because then you get into mental emotional patterns with like that inhaler thing. And I've worked on kids with that, and it clears them up. Sometimes it takes a couple of hits on it, but there's addictive things that go with that. Plus one thing that came up, and it's cool that a session taught me this, is there was some substance, I can't remember, that's in these inhalers that actually makes asthma worse. It's in the inhaler. I looked for it, and I was like, wow. And you see all these things written about it, and here you are, here these puffing these things. Yeah.
I've heard that kiwi is a good natural food remedy for
asthma. Huh.
Kiwi and pineapple.
Which those.
Enzymes.
And pineapple is really one of the major things for digestion, so that might give a little clue there too.
Did you say C's? All those vitamin C's are carrying anyway. So
True. So basically, once you've found out what the issue is, and this is something you can do, Marcia, is you can take a glass of water. You said some airborne allergies and you don't know what they are. In your house or outside, you just put a glass of water out, and water's always collecting things that go through the air. Just particles fall in. And then you take that water, screw the lid on, and then you hold that and treat yourself with the water. A lot of people that do the allergy treatments do
I
that.
saw Pam on the way here yesterday. I went outside on my porch, and I was only out there 5 minutes, and I had to go in.
Oh, so it's probably outside then. So just take that jar, set it outside for a day or so, at least 24 hours, then screw the lid back on, take it inside, and you just put it in your energy field. Because when we're tapping on mental emotional things, the only reason we say something is to keep our focus on that issue. So by holding the substance, you're causing the disturbance in your energy field. Just by thinking about it causes the disturbance. And that's why when somebody's emotional, you don't need to have them say anything because they're already in the vibe. But anyway, you take that bottle with what you've collected and you treat that. You don't always have to do this, but it adds a little bit something to it. As you get some of your saliva on a Q-tip and you stick it in your navel, which is like the energy port, right? And you're treating the saliva is where you get all your hormonal things, and actually they say saliva is can more accurately depict what's going on in your entire body over blood even. So you put that in your navel like a little port, and then you hold that product or have it in your lap and you tap on it. And I recommend you do that for at least 7 to 21 days to get it completely out of your system. And then if you have that strong reaction, you can test that, Marsha, by going outside and seeing if it's changing as you go along. Some people are so allergic to peanut butter, if you put some on them, they can get a rash, which is another way of getting feedback, like a little test area.
I was in the, this is nothing good, just a little bit.
Okay.
I was in the store the other day, and they had powdered peanut butter.
Yeah, great.
I saw that in United, their organic place of their powdered peanut butter.
Haven't heard of that.
Oh.
Just eat almond butter.
Yeah.
Well, do you hydrate yourself or something?
I guess maybe. I don't know.
Add oil?
Add oil. Powdered peanut butter, like that.
I've heard some people say that a big reason why peanut has such a big issue, not just with allergies, but in general, is because it's the only nut that's growing in the ground. All the other nuts come from trees.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And because it grows in the ground, it's
moldy.
It's exposed to aflatoxin, which is a fungus that lives in the ground.
Huh. That makes sense.
And they say if you, the one thing is like if you're eating peanut butter, that's actually regulated. The aflatoxin in it is regulated, but in whole peanuts,
like
it's
Snicker
not
bar.
regulated. So you could have huge amounts of aflatoxin in your
Snicker bar.
Snickers bar. Or
They also say you have to be careful about digging in the dirt, especially like kids that play out in the dirt, that there's something along the same line that they can pick up. And
Well, supposedly, we're supposed to be playing in the dirt when we grow up. Actually,
well, I thought about that,
that,
but I mean, it's not everywhere, but I guess
well, the thing
there
is,
have been people that get infected with a fungus.
the thing is if
Internal digestion.
right. The thing is, if you don't ever have that inoculation, which is what it is basically a vaccine, is here you are playing in the dirt. Most kids eat it. If you don't get that into your system, then later when you come in contact with it, you'll have a negative reaction. So part of our immune system is supposed to be playing with the earth. So it's like a little bit of a vaccine that starts your immune system.
I used to eat it.
Yeah, most kids do. It's just
Dad, would they plow that earth? That's so weird.
Well, what if you grow up in one part of the country and move to another? Then you
I don't know who could cause a problem.
just stay in your home area.
But then
stay in your box.
yeah.
I get it.
That's what I don't like about that, because then it becomes like you can't do anything anywhere. Like I used to, I get information from Dr. McCullough. He's a popular doctor online, and I used to read his stuff all the time. I'll read it if it catches my attention, but good God, if you listen to that every day, you can't do shit. You can't eat anything. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything.
I stopped doing that because now that's
Stay in your box.
Yeah. And see, our big thing about our immune system is it's the heart center is the adaptability. So remember, our mental thoughts and our emotions keep us from being flexible or inflexible. So if you hear all that negative stuff about what's possible, then I think you become more and more rigid. Then you become more and more affected by everything. I mean, not that you're going to go sit there and play in a pool of toxins, but if you're digging in the dirt and you get a little blast of something, it's not going to kill you if you're adaptable. And when our mind and emotions aren't adaptable, our body isn't.
Sorry.
So you place this substance in your energy field. That could be sitting in your lap, wherever that is. And then basically you're rubbing all the points. And this is just an example of what you would say. Although I have a problem with this peanut butter, or these airborne substances. I love and accept my mind, body, and spirit. And you just go through all these different, all the different points, and you can add in whatever's going on. All they'll have a negative reaction to blank, which is causing me to sneeze, and on and on. So that's basically the treatment. You're just tapping the points just like you do with anything else. Any questions on that? Next time we do it.
What was the end of that?
It could be multiple things. So, for example, Marcia, you say when you go outside, what happens to you?
I just start clogging up immediately and sneezing and itching and eyes and cough. Or not really, well, I feel it in my chest.
So you say you put your glass of water out there and you come back in. Preferably it's a jar you can screw the lid on so you don't pour it all over yourself when you're holding it.
Yeah, the end of the.
Yeah, and then you just ad lib really. It's like, although I have an issue with this substance, or I start clogging up when I go outside. Since you're holding that, I love and accept myself, and I've added here, I love and accept my body, mind, and spirit.
That's
Oh, this is yours anyway.
It was simple. I just wasn't listening when you said it.
Sorry.
Thank you.
And you can just add different phrases to that. We may have time to do one. I just want to make sure I have time for the movie, so we don't miss it again.
Yes, Evie will be mad at you.
Me?
No.
I'm just kidding.
So this comes from A Course in Miracles, and I really like it because this next couple of pages are about relationships, and like I said, when I first started, I think before y'all came in, is I wrote this probably close to 3 years ago, so things might have changed since then. I haven't reread this recently because, but my perception is always growing, and I want it to keep growing. So I'll tell you if I don't agree anymore. But I really like this here. This comes from A Course in Miracles, and I think I heard Marianne Williamson first say this, or in reference to the Course in Miracles. And it's something in all relationships we need to keep in mind. All actions are either an act of love or a cry for love. So that means whatever some a-hole's doing, the biggest, worst thing out there is a cry for love in some way. And that's hard to sometimes see, even especially in abusive types of issues, but that's the truth. I totally believe that that's true. It's either an act of love or there's a need for love. And for some reason that's gotten distorted. What are the two main things that profoundly affect our lives the most, both of which we cannot change? The answer's on the page there.
Right.
People and our past. The two main things that profoundly affect us, we cannot change. And both of these add up to relationships. So that takes me to this next page here. This came to me one...
What those two things are?
Huh?
What those two things are?
People and past. Our past and people are the two things that affect us the most. And usually we combine those. We're projecting our past onto people. So of course they affect us. So we're doing it. So this came to me one time. It's relationships are like equations. So think about like looking in there at Marcia and Pam, right? Let's just say each one of them are number 1, okay? And if there's nothing in between them, how do you distinguish? So this first group, you see these 4 groups of 1 side by side. What is the difference between any of them? Is there a difference between this line of 1s, this line of 1s, this? No, right? Okay, nothing's different between them. Now, what is difference between the numbers? You see the equation? You have a plus, and you actually get it. So you have 1 and 1. It's like, if you put a plus sign between them, you get a 2. Put a minus sign, you get a 0. A times sign, you get a 1. And a divided sign, you get a 1?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
Anything divided by itself.
That's it.
It's itself. It's 0.
It's
1. Oh, okay.
Anything divided by 0 is 0.
1 apple goes into 1 apple one
No,
time.
anything divided by 0 is itself.
No.
What's that song?
Times
0 divided by 0?
Oh, times.
Yeah. 1 times 1 is 1.
Yes.
Good. So I didn't mess up. Anyway, it just came to me that it's not the people that show up so much as it is all the crap between the people. So that's why in any relationship we're always different. You know, it's like it's not us that changes necessarily. To a certain degree, we manipulate or we mold ourselves to what's between the two people. So if we feel like expectations are coming from our father when we're in relationship with that, we adjust ourselves to the stuff we're feeling between them, right?
Yeah.
So we turn around, walk around, and we never touch each other. We just touch the shit between us, the crap that we've collected or we're projecting out. That's all that ever touches, huh?
I don't like touching shit.
Yeah. Yeah, but we do it a lot.
We do it a lot.
That's why I left home, regardless of what my choices were going to mean for me. As long as I got out of the house, I didn't think I cared.
Yeah, and sometimes changing the equation is just removing the other number.
We were dividing the house away.
Yeah. One divide. Yeah. That's the zero. One times zero. Never mind. The numbers just show up to the equation. It is all about what is in between the numbers that makes the difference. I've already gone through that part. We react differently to different people because the relationship is different. This example goes for our own relationships with people and our inward relationship with our own mind and body. So I just added like a little aura around each number. So it's what's in our energy field, our mental emotional field, that hits each other, touches each other than us really ever getting close to one another. So if you're projecting onto somebody, sometimes you never get very close at all because you're all in defense mechanisms, keeping the other person far away. Illness is a relationship in our body. I wrote that wrong, so let me try to read it right. Illness in a relationship or in the body is simply a repetitive equation or pattern that is unbalanced and unproductive. It's like keep doing the same pattern, the same equation over and over. Problems like cancer, allergies, muscle pain, and disease are all about our own relationship with those things inside and outside of us. To help heal a relationship with a physical body, you change what is happening between you and the other. You do that by changing what you are broadcasting out. So I still agree with this page. You're changing what's inside of you, not trying to change the other person. And by changing you, you're changing what you're throwing out there to mix with the other person.
See, you do use algebra after high school.
Yeah, he did.
So see, you do use algebra after high school.
Well, that's about the extent of my math genius. Relationships. We are here to learn and grow. And I might say that a little bit different these days. I would say we're more here to expand and grow. I would translate into expand awareness. If it's all consciousness, we're here to basically experience whatever we're here to experience. And there's no judgment of good and bad. And that experience expands our consciousness, which would be translated to spiritual growth. By our experiences, then the growth and the learning must be around. Let me read that again. If we are here to learn and grow by our experiences, then the growth and learning must be around relationship lessons, because that's the one thing we can't get away from here, right? I don't care if you go in the woods, you're going to have a relationship with nature, so there's always going to be a relationship with something, whether it's just yourself or something outside of you. I'm sure God doesn't care if we can balance a checkbook, pass the 11th grade, own a pretty house, or exercise regularly. God does become joyous with us at these accomplishments, but I believe God thinks other things are more important. From my perception, his number one is how we treat our fellow man in all kinds of experiences. All of life is about relationships. Everything in the universe relies on a relationship from quarks to galaxies, and you are no different. No matter where or who you are, you cannot avoid relationships. Even if you're alone, you're having a relationship with yourself. Our lives and our bodies are all about identifying and becoming aware of where we are stuck in our own growth process. So all that growth process means is where we're stuck in relationship to something. The mirror of our relationships can be the catalyst for growth that combines with the original intent to improve. What I mean by that original intent is imagine God just exploding into a million pieces with the intent to go out, expand, and grow. Quote unquote, improve. As iron sharpens iron, so one man or woman sharpens another. Proverbs 27:17. If life is all about learning, experiencing, and growing, then what better way to learn than in the garden of relationships? That's very poetic, isn't it?
Yes, actually.
Sometimes I surprise myself. Life lessons. Relationships help bring to the surface a variety of aspects about ourselves. Through the course of any relationship, we are given the opportunity to deal with some of what we term negative aspects by changing and healing the negative aspects. Most relationships do not last because one or both of the people involved are unwilling to work on themselves. It is much easier to point the finger or blame at one another for your own shortcoming. And when I say that, I don't believe you're supposed to stay in negative relationships. It's not about that either. Most of the people in this group would tend to stay longer in a place than you need to, than jump out of it, because we're so empathic and care too much about what other people think. So either one is either extreme of anything, good or bad, quote unquote, is not good. One staying way too long, one the first sign of any uncomfort jumping out. Either way is not good. It may be hard to believe, but the people who I still believe. It may be hard to believe, but the people who push our buttons or anger us, the ones we usually hate or at least dislike, and the ones we like to blame, are the ones that offer us the most potential for growth. They put us in situations where we have to look deep within ourselves to find out who we are and what we are made of and what we're projecting out. It takes a strong commitment to our personal growth for any relationship to last. Types of relationships. Equal. So let me see your left hand. Your left hand. Equal is, it's like this. And this type of relationship actually scares the hell out of most humans, okay? Because I'm free to let go, and so is the other person. So then we move into relationships like this, where now, no, not that way. I'm controlling, and she's being the controlled. And then the other way is, grabbing. We're both codependent. It's like, you do what I want you to do, and I'll do what you want to do. But we're trapped, though. There's no more freedom.
Kind of like a Chinese computer trap.
Yeah, Chinese life trap. Bad relationships. And when I say bad, that is a judgment, but it's just uncomfortable. Perhaps we don't like to admit it, but we draw to us the people who serve us in relationships. But we draw to us the people who serve us in relationships. Have you ever known someone who gets into a challenging relationship and the guy or the girl is, say, a control freak? When she or he finally breaks up, they usually begin another relationship with someone else who tends to be like the previous person. It is because the friend is sending out a particular vibration about a mate and then draws that same type of mate. That's why we keep getting the same pattern. And it doesn't matter the clothing, even the sex of the person, it's just that particular pattern. They could be in a bar with tons of people, and the ones that approach them have a similar vibration to the one they're sending out. In other words, a like attracts like. So if you're putting out this, I need a creepo scumbag, well, guess what? That's the guys that are going to come to you, or the girls that are going to come to you. And there's a reason for this. That person is reflecting something they need to work on in themselves. So usually when we project out a belief about something, it's usually somewhat around ourselves. So if you're putting out a projection of I'm only worthy of some scumbag because I'm a scumbag, well, that's what you get. And the thing is and I've mentioned this before, but it's good to, I think it's a good time to re-mention it. It's like, I've had a hard time understanding people getting in abusive relationships. And, you go in there and you think you can tell them that they're in a horrible relationship. And I'm talking physically abusive. It's not just mentally, emotionally. It's not that that's any less worse, but physically abusive. How somebody would just take that over and over, and like even having hospital visits and stuff like that. It's because imagine that this person, this beaten down person, has a low self-esteem, and they're thinking that's all they need, that's all they're worth, right? Well, reality, even though this is a horribly negative experience, is trying to get them to see that they're worthy. So it's going to keep hitting them in the face until they go, no, I'm done with this, I deserve better. Then that's when the pattern changes. And we can't take that away from people. I've tried before. It's like you can help them. I mean, I've gotten techniques that will help loosen that. But there comes a point where they have to finally realize that they don't deserve that, and then they can remove themselves. And you can say, well, good God, this seems like a horrible system for God to set up. Well, it's just the way it is. We're going to draw negativity to us to break loose the crappy things we're sending out. Otherwise, there would be no motivation to get rid of that, right? this person is reflecting something they need to work on in themselves. Until that something is worked out, they will continue to draw that type of person to them in one way or another. It could be, maybe it's not in your relationship, it's in your work. For example, a 20% whole person will draw other 20% whole people to them. It does not work any other way. If you were a 100% person whole, and I started dating, if I was 100% whole, and I started dating something that was 50% whole, I probably wouldn't get past the second date. You understand why? It's because I would not vibe with them. I would not be in that needy state as they were, and if they were really, really clingy, and I'm already self-empowered where I realize clinginess kills relationships, then I would already be out of that. So you're going to always get something that matches your level of completion. And when you're past that level of where you used to sink, when you pass it and you don't sink anymore, the relationship will not last. Well, you can try to make it last, but it won't be fun. Yeah, I mean, like you may dummy yourself up with drugs or antidepressants, whatever it is, to dull your expansion, and we can do that. We are actually pretty good at doing that. There is a reason we relate to some people and run from others. Another aspect of relationships is that we tend to attract those who mirror those parts of ourselves that we are missing. So, for example, with that person being beaten down, they actually need to get more of that aggressive, I need to get what mine needs. Not that they become an abuser, but it's like a balance. If you find yourself or you see somebody, or you find yourself in a negative polarity relationship, the whole goal of it is for both of them to find the balance between the biggest issue. Somebody being beaten has low self-esteem. This controlling one is a bully. Somewhere in there in between is the perfect place for both of them. And so it's not like you draw negativity, like you're getting beaten is the only way to draw something to you. You can also draw something, like if you're an abuser, you're going to draw somebody that takes beating to learn something. Maybe eventually, by doing that over and over, that person will make you see that what those actions are really doing. So if we are really passive and need to learn to be more direct and stand up for ourselves, we will draw to us someone to help us develop that trait. And it's not going to be somebody like, oh, try. No, it's going to be somebody who pushes in our face to make us do it. Of course, it will not feel like they were doing us any favor, because it will be pushing us past our limits. But growth happens when we are pushed past our comfort zone. As long as we are pushed past our limits, but not in the shock zone, the possibility for growth. Let me rephrase that. So imagine this is a chart here, and this is your comfort zone. Within here, you're actually very dull. Okay, this is like where you're comfortable. And then we've got outside of that, there's like a growth zone that we have to go into. In other words, we start feeling uncomfortable as we go into here. Remember I talked about facing your discomfort into the cocoon? You have to start going into the discomfort. However, if you go past the discomfort into the shock zone, you'll run back into the center. So what I'm trying to say here is you've got to go past your limits, but not too far that will push you back. So you've got to test yourself. That's all that's ever tested. God's not testing you, not some other being's testing you. We're testing ourselves. And sometimes when you feel yourself in a rut, it's good to push yourself past where you are. In other words, even some of the work I do, like some of the classes, the impact stuff, I actually sometimes feel uncomfortable through that process. But Spirit pushes me into that by being drawn into it, and I push myself past it, and I work through to get more and more comfortable with, like I said, I used to take an F in school because I hated to get up in front of people. So by facing my discomfort, I expand my comfort zone. So now I can talk in front of people, and then wider and wider. Whatever the issue is, you get more expanded. But it's through the discomfort that we have the expansion. If we focus too much on the aspect of them that cause pain, it distracts us from seeing what we are there to teach us. In other words, if we're looking at this person's beating me, then you miss the picture of what's really going on. What are they really trying to bring you? It's not the beating they're trying to beat you. They're trying to get you to see something else. Things we like about others are things we like about ourselves, and vice versa. I've always seen that. There's certain people I really sync with, but that they usually hold like something I like within myself. If you are in or find yourself drawn to a challenging relationship, here are some of the things you can ask yourself to help clear that up. Why did I draw this person to me? Instead of, why the hell is this happening to me? It's like, why did I draw this to me? That's a huge change in your perception. have I had a similar relationship in the past? What is the so-called what is so challenging about the relationship? Where do I hurt the most in this relationship, mentally, emotionally? If I know this relationship is bad for me, why am I remaining involved? These things help loosen up why you're there. Seeing it for what it is worth. Once you have seen your part in the relationship drama and you are working to heal or have healed that part of you, and the relationship is still challenging, it is time to leave. And that's my belief. And it's not easy. But once you've done all you can, you've tried to incorporate them to do all they can, and then all you do is have discomfort more and more and more and more, then there's only one option left. It's time to go. Okay? It is time to,
I had that conversation with a friend of mine. She was having some issues with her husband, and I said, well, you know, what's the, you know, she said they've tried counseling, they've tried, you know, date nights, they've tried, you know, they've done a lot to try and keep things together for the kids. And I said, well, what's with the kids that you're trying to do? Well, we don't want to hurt the kids. And I said, well, if that's the only reason why you're staying together, you're hurting the kids anyway.
I heard this one time, I read this somewhere in some psychological journal, that children, you know, we tend to think that we teach our children by our example. That's true. By what we do, we teach them. But we also teach them on the negative aspect is,
By what we don't do.
By what we don't do, but specifically by what we allow to happen to us. You're actually teaching that the other people that are growing up below you, you're teaching them what to not only do in their life, but what to allow into their life. And that's a huge, like, whoa, because if you're allowing them to see a certain thing, you're passing that, okay, well, this is what you have to allow to happen to be in a relationship. Well, that may not be something you want to be teaching. If the other person is not working on himself or herself, there can be two results. You flee the relationship, or you stay because of an unconscious codependence. Unconscious codependence means there is more that you need to work on. And like luck so has to happen, you're in the relationship to continue working on it. Once a healthy person, keyword here, realizes they are in an unhealthy relationship, they leave. So if you're still in an unhealthy relationship and you haven't fully realized you're in an unhealthy relationship, you're not completely healthy. Sometimes it is better to end the relationship for the sake of harmony than to stay in harm. In all cases, you will repeat the pattern until it is healed. So if you haven't finished your stuff, you might as well try to stay a little bit longer to clear the stuff than jump out of it knowing that you're going to pull something to you that may be very similar. If you choose to remain in the relationship, it is nonsense to bitch about the other person if you are not doing what you need to do. So if you know that you're in an unhealthy relationship and you're not ready to leave, then quit bitching about the person because you already fucking know it. So you are the issue, not the person. Victim. We cannot assume mastery over our own lives if we are busy blaming others. It is impossible to be the master, and it's impossible to be a master and a slave at the same time. We can only change ourselves. It is impossible to change another. When we blame others, we are saying they can control us. When we're at their mercy, and we give our power away. Victim schmictum. If we have all played the victim, I myself included, at least once in our lives, because playing the victim has its rewards. We wouldn't do, when we get in these uncomfortable places, we're there because we're getting something. If you're in an unhealthy relationship, you're getting something or you'd be gone. That's the bottom line. If you're getting something, or you would be gone. We have all played the victim at least once in our lives, because playing the victim has its rewards. The most obvious reward is attention, energy, in the form of sympathy. Like a lot of people bitch about their relationship, and in some way they get sympathy from the outside, which is one of the worst things you can do. And it's hard to do when you see a friend suffering. We want to soothe that pain and I see that you're suffering, but that's how the group has gotten more and more in your face about tapping stuff and bringing it back to you doing the thing. One of the best things you can do is say, hey, be honest with them, not just like soothe them. It's like, you're part of the problem in this too. It's not just you're the victim. Like children, we do not care if it's good or bad attention as long as we are getting attention. The victimness can be on a physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual level. By playing the victim, we are saying, I am weak and I need others to care for and feed me. We are also saying, someone owes me. This someone owes me attitude actually perpetuates prejudice mentality. We can all look back and blame our parents for who and how we are now, but then they can do the same. In other words, you can always be looking. Everybody's going to be looking backwards. So where does it stop? Once we start blaming others, there really is no ending point. The truth is there is no one to thank and no one to blame. Two unnecessary ingredients for enjoyable growth. Loving. Without love, our sharing and growth are not much fun. Sharing. Without sharing, there is no loving and growing. Growth still happens without these two things, but it is much more fun to have loving and sharing in our lives. Essential words for a healthy relationship. I apologize. To forgive is to forget. Forgiving means you intentionally let go of a negative charge in your body-mind. You are right. Saying this frees up static between the two people. And you only say those things if they're true. If they're not true, don't be saying them just to keep the peace. Well, that was it. Section.
Can't see where you're going if you're busy looking at where you've been.
Yeah. Trip. Fall. So that's the end of section 10.